Our agenda for today is on the virtual PD best practices. So those are just general PD practices in a virtual and distance setting. We'll then go over what Kami is. We'll also discuss how teachers can use Kami. We'll talk about students using Kami as well as the student experience and what it looks like from a student perspective. And then we'll ask you to fill out a feedback form. So going over the PD best practices, first of all, we just want to thank you guys all for joining us today. We know that distance learning is brand new to everybody, and for you guys to take time out of your day to add something to your own skill sets in distance learning, that says a lot. So we really do appreciate you guys taking this time, and we understand that you're taking kind of a leap of faith as well, providing all of these new resources and instructional strategies to your students. So we do really appreciate that. So virtual professional development, it is new to everyone. So we just ask that you give yourself grace in understanding how all of these tools work and interacting with these tools. And we also want you to choose the best learning method that works for you. So for you, if it's kind of to sit back and just observe and then go back to the resources that are provided and kind of apply these things at your own pace, that's okay. We also have that note-taking sheet. So feel free to take digital notes on that note-taking document. If you're a little bit more comfortable actively participating with a second window open or a second tab open, feel free to do that as well. And then you can rewatch the recording later and try to explore it at your own pace. We also have the chat box available. So as we're going through the session, if you have questions that arise, feel free to use the chat box. And then you can always also contact our team afterwards if you forget something that didn't come up during this session and you want us to assist with it afterwards. So let's go ahead and get started with talking about what Kami is. So Kami is an app that we use. It is an online document annotation and markup tool. So using Kami, you're basically able to highlight, underline, and strike through text in PDF and other document formats. You can also add text boxes, shapes, and images. You can add voice, video, and screencast to a PDF. And it also works really well with your Google Drive and Google Classroom. It allows students to collaborate with you in real time on a PDF. So if you're pushing out any PDF documents in Google Classroom, students don't have to actually print anything. They can just mark it directly on the PDF file and submit it to you. So we're going to go over all of that today, but then we're also going to give you an opportunity to explore these different tools in Kami and play around with adding text boxes and shapes and marking it up. So you'll get to see that student perspective of what it's like for them to be able to mark up a PDF using Kami.
All right. Hi, guys. We're going to look at the Kami features first before we dive in from a student perspective and play around with them. So Kami has several different markup tools that you can use. They have a highlighter, and then they also have a box highlighter, which allows you to put a box around an image or a picture versus the regular highlighter would be over a sentence or a couple of sentences in a passage. They have a strike through feature and then also underline. And for all of these features right here, you can change the color. It gives you a few popular highlighter colors, but you'll see that there's a palette. You can click the palette and customize your colors further. So here's an example of what that looks like on the text. You can see this was a PDF that was uploaded through Kami, and then someone went in and kind of haphazardly annotated the text. So there's the highlight feature, we have the strike through, and then the underline and the color was changed on the underline. And then also this is what the box highlight feature would look like. Another feature that Kami has is the comment tools, and they have several different ways which you can comment with your students, which is really nice for giving access to the content for all of our students. So you have the text box feature, which allows you to attach text to any a comment to any piece of the PDF that you upload for your students. But then you also have this voice comment feature. So you can record your voice for your students. So if you have your little learners or our students with special needs, you can, instead of typing it, you can give them access to the content by just speaking what you need from them. And then you can also record a video of yourself speaking to the students so that they can see your face. I know right now in the distance learning, they're missing you. And so kind of not just hearing your voice, but seeing your face is really important for the students. And then the last feature is a screencast feature. So you can screencast for 5 minutes within Kami, which means you can kind of show your students, like give them a little mini lesson using the screencast feature. And so they'll see your face and your screen, and you can embed that all throughout your Kami document. So here's what it would look like for a student. You can see there's text over here and some directions. And then there's a little play button where it's just speaking. And then there's a video feature. YouTube, you can embed YouTube links directly into Kami, so the students will stay within Kami instead of opening up another window and going out to YouTube, which is kind of nice because sometimes they get lost in what's next on YouTube. So I'll go ahead and show you in real time what that would look like. Oh, computer's thinking. All right, so right here you can see if the student hits play, it starts to play, and I know you can't hear it, but it'll read the directions, or it speaks the directions from the teacher. And then students can also leave a reply to that. So kind of like that interactive feature with Google Classroom, if they have more questions or you're asking them to respond, they can respond with text. And then you'll see right here is the YouTube video. It's got the link, but then they can click play and it starts to play that video, like I said, right there in this YouTube or in this Kami assignment. And then I just attached a comment so the students know kind of what to do with that video. So those are the comment features. All right. Next, we have several different text tools. So you can click on the T when we open up Kami, and that will open up all the different text tools. You can change the size, so you can make it smaller or larger. You can also change the color just as you can with the other tools. Once you insert a text box into your PDF as a teacher or a student, it will open up this bar in Kami and you can change the font and you can further customize just like you would with a Google Doc or a Word doc. There's also drawing tools. So this is really good for PDFs. You can change the stroke thickness, the color, and also the transparency. So if you have your students annotating diagrams or showing their work in math, they have lots of different options. So here's an example of the text and the drawing tool. Dr. Kong gave us a nice example right here of what it looks like. I know for us adults that sometimes it feels weird drawing with our mouse versus like having a touch screen. But I've noticed when I was in the classroom that the students, they adapt really, really quickly. So usually that's not an issue for them. And then they have symbols. So this is really powerful for our math teachers. You can import the symbols. And then once you import your symbol, you can again customize the size. You can customize the color, the placing as well. And then you can also import shapes. They only give you a triangle, a circle, and a square, but you can import that onto your document. Again, change the color. And they do have a line feature. So there's shapes. And then again, you can erase. You have an eraser where you can erase just by one like kind of item at a time. Or if you want to erase all annotations, you can do that, or all drawings or shapes as well. And then Kami allows you to add images into your PDF. So when you're creating an assignment for a student, or if you are a student, you can import images directly from your computer or your drive. But I know if you're having your students import images, it's nice because they can directly search in Google with the filters that we have that keep the images safe for our students by clicking on this G right here. All right, so the student's first use, I know that some of you have already seen this video and we won't watch it now, but when you first give your assignment to your students, this video is important to embed so that if they're, especially if they're younger learners, the parents can help them. It just asks for students to allow access to their Google Drive. So the student needs to do that. The reason that Kami asks for access, I know it says something about editing, creating, and deleting. is just because if you go in as a teacher, Google Drive makes a folder for you with Kami assignments. And if you wanted to delete an assignment that you've made, you need to allow access for Google Drive to do that. So that's why it's asking for permission. Next, we're going to do our student experience. And if you have not yet used Kami, you'll want to also click allow. It's going to prompt you just like it would with the students to allow access. Also, when you use your microphone and your camera for the first time, the box will pop up and you'll need to also allow access for both of those things. So if you haven't already joined our Google Classroom, we have an ILE PD Google Classroom. There's some Pear Deck resources in there if you didn't attend our Pear Deck earlier, but you can also see those. But join that Google Classroom at classroom.google.com. There's the join code for you. And then once you open up the classwork tab, there's a Kami PD sampler assignment. And then once you open that, you'll want to click this purple open with Kami, and it will pop out another window for you. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to kind of work and play and just explore with the features. I do want to share that I can see your work in real time, and that's a really powerful tool as a teacher. So I will be displaying that. So I don't want you to be caught off guard if your work's on the camera in a few minutes, but it is almost instant real time, just like with Google Docs or Google Slides. There's a tiny bit of a delay, but go ahead and do that. If you're stuck or can't access something, Dr. Kong and I are both here to answer questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and just ask, or you can use the comment box as well. But we'll go ahead and play around with these features for about 5 minutes. All right, it looks like everybody's doing okay so far, but please don't hesitate if you have questions, put them in the chat or remove your mic and you can ask. I'm going to start looking at the work as a teacher, so you can see that that'll be displayed as well. So Glay has a really good question. She asked if the work is auto-saved. And so the work, just like any other Google app for education, is auto-saved. Also, so if a student was to start working on a assignment and then they had to come back and visit it, it is already saved. And then you can also see that there's the little like floppy disk icon. If you click down on that, you can see that it's right here, all changes saved automatically. And then you can also see that it says auto save. So it's kind of hidden in another spot, but that might be a really good thing to let your students know the first time they're using Kami that it will be saved automatically. Dr. Kong, are there any other questions that you think might be benefit the whole if we address them in here?
Jennifer had a question. Can you attach other links that are not YouTube, like a Kahoot or McGraw-Hill link?
So you can attach other links. The only problem is it'll link the student out into another tab. Currently, YouTube is the only thing that will bring content into Kami. So you possibly might want to use those as a link through your Google Classroom assignment versus Kami, just until the kids are a little more proficient, the students are more proficient using Kami, they might get a little lost. Yeah, that's a really good question. Any other questions, Dr. Kong?
Is there a undo feature like in Google Docs, or the ability to see version history and restore it to an earlier edited version?
All right, that's a very good question as well. I have not yet found an undo feature. Does not mean it doesn't exist, but just like you guys, I'm learning a ton about tools that support distance learning that I've never really had in my tool belt before. So I don't know that there's an undo. I haven't found it yet. And there is not a version history as well. So if you were using this collaboratively, which you can assign one Kami assignment. In Google Classroom, you can make a copy for each student, but you also could do it where they're collaborating. Just like Jamboard, there is not a version history. It's just kind of a free for all. So, and for the eraser, we just have the eraser right here. And then you can either erase using just the eraser one item at a time, or all annotations in one fell swoop, or all drawings as well. Any other questions? These are great. Okay. All right. Well, very good. Hopefully you all had a little bit of a chance to play around with Kami, and also just kind of explore and see that no matter what grade your learners are, it is pretty intuitive, pretty simple to do. You can see that for me as the teacher, I opened up my Google Classroom and then I opened up the assignment. So this is the grading platform that you see for feedback in Google Classroom, whether it's a doc or a slide or a draw. You see the drop down, so I can go through students and I can choose which student I want to look at. The one difference is you have to click on open with, and you have to click on annotate with Kami to give the feedback, because your feedback is technically an annotation. So you can see right here, I went on Kimberly's document and I saw her annotations. Her highlighting was great. She didn't have a highlighter party and highlight all the words that don't need to be. So I just clicked my comment tool and I clicked one area and I left some feedback for the students. So I could see her work in real time. It just required me to open up a separate tab, and then she should be able to see the feedback almost immediately as well. I can see she played around with some of the comment tools, so thank you, and our drawing feature. So depending on how you use Kami with your students, if you choose to do it through a Google Meet or a small group, you can see the work that the students are doing in real time. And if you choose to do it in a different way, you can still leave them comments just like any other Google app for education with the feedback, which is really important. All right. So going back to our presentation, that was a student experience. Now for the teacher, there's two different ways that you can use Kami. There's this short video that has some of the basic steps for you. You can refer back to later. It's located also in our ILE YouTube playlist. We have a ton. That's where we house all of our tutorials. But the first option is that you create an assignment with PDF in Classroom. So you would open up your Google Classroom. You would click classwork, you would click create, and then you would notice you already have this Kami assignment. So you would click the Kami assignment. This is if you already have a PDF. So I know a lot of our curriculum already comes with PDFs that we're kind of pushing out for our students right now. You can just pull one of those PDFs and the students can just do the work on it. Simple, easy, no customization, but it just gets the job done. That's a great starting point for you because you already have access to those and you don't have to put in a ton of work for prepping. If you're ready to kind of dive in and do a little bit more for your students, if you know that, and here's what it looks like. If you know that your students need you to record and do some kind of flipped learning for them or flipped teaching, or you're ready to embed videos and kind of make it like a hyperdoc, but where they can annotate in using all those tools, you can log in with this link right here at Kami. It's kamiapp.com, it's linked in, and then log in with your Google single sign-on account. And then you can create a whole assignment that's interactive where you're guiding the students through each step using those tools, the voice recording and screencasting, and you can insert directions, and then you can assign it through Classroom, actually through Kami versus Google Classroom. So if you were to log in using that link in your Google single sign-on, it's going to open up a menu like this, super simple looking, and it will give you these options. You can open up a document from your slides or your docs or anything housed within your Google Drive. You can open up a document if it's on your computer. And then you can create a new blank page. So it's just a white piece of digital paper and you can put in text and directions for your students if you don't already have a PDF. So this requires a little bit more work, but you can get really creative for your students and do all sorts of things. But I do think that Kami is an excellent tool. If you've already pushed out PDFs to your students before you knew about this, they do have the option, even if you didn't assign it with Kami, to open up with Kami and do the work directly on the PDF. So I know my kids, some of their teachers have said, print this and then do it. And with 3 kids and a ton of assignments to be printed, I've just told them you can do it with Kami, show your work, and then your teacher can view it when you turn it back in with Kami. So this is really the end of our presentation. Kami's super simple, ready to go, easy. If you have any other questions, please, you can take your mic off and ask myself or Dr. Kong, leave it in the comments. But this is the end. We do appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us and learn something new and add it to your digital tool belt and instruction. If you could fill out the feedback form for us, that would be greatly appreciated. And then when you're done, you can log off. Kong and I will be hanging out and answering questions. I know that Susan raised her hand. So Susan, did you have a question? No problem. Okay, so anyone else, if you have questions or comments, please feel free if you want to ask for more. Kami, is you can go really in depth and do all sorts of things. Or like I said, just upload that PDF and let your kids annotate and write all over it across all the content areas. But that's it. So thank you guys. How do I, oh, good question. So to complete the feedback form, you should click this link if you have the slides open. If you don't, Dr. Kong will put the link in the chat for you and you can click on that and fill that out for us. So again, my name was Crystal Hart and Dr. Steve Kong was facilitating with us. That's 2. So can you show where the annotate with Kami is? Yes, Jasmine. So for me, once I assigned it as a teacher, I then had the option. So when we assign it, you assign with Kami. Right here, you click classwork and you click create. You guys all already have this assigned with Kami. Once you make an assignment with Kami, the way that you'll view it, it will then open up in the teacher dashboard. So we can open that all the way. And I can choose one of my students. We'll choose Renee because she already turned it in. Thank you. And you notice that we could see the student work whether they turned it in or not. So don't worry, you'll still have access to all of their work no matter where they are in the process. But as I hover over right here, you'll notice that once I kind of clicked up here, it said open with. Click the arrow down and then annotate with Kami will be embedded for you to annotate and give that feedback for your students. And then there was another question. How do we get to the creating with Kami? No problem. So for creating with Kami, if you want to do that from the Kami dashboard, I'll grab this link right here and copy and paste that for you. This link will take you to that homepage where you need to log in and you can create from Kami there. There we go. All right. Any other questions in here, Kong? Okay, Erica, is there? Yeah. No, so Kami is not as smooth, Erica, as like everything else in Google. So you did have to, unless there's a way I don't know about, which is possible, you do have to open up this tab, choose your student, then go to that annotate with Kami, and then I'm going to use Michelle. It opens up a third tab. And so far, and I didn't have a lot of students to play with before this, I had to do that for every single student. So it was like 3 more clicks than in Classroom where it's just the caret over and you're already there. If I find like a more efficient way, I'll make sure to let you all know. how to do that. Okay, you're welcome. And let's see, anything else? All right, how does the student turn in finished work? Very good question. And I know Dr. Kong did answer Renee's question about turning in the finished work, but for those of you that also might have the same question, let me see, I have to go in here as a student though. Let me see if I have a student. I'll look for it, but the students have a turn in button that's up at the top and it's purple and it says turn in, and then they'll drop that down and be able to go in and click turn in from there. Also, when they turn it in through Kami, it will also in Classroom already say turn in for the assignment. So they don't have to go back. Like I know when our students do Flipgrid, they submit their Flipgrid, but they still need to go back to Classroom and click submit. But Kami does that automatically for you. Let's see, any other questions? All right. Can you say that one more time? Mhm. Very good question. Okay, so Jennifer was asking about editing a Kami post after you assign it. And yes, so I had to do that yesterday. So I made a typo actually on one of our documents. And when we were testing it out on my end as the teacher, I fixed that typo and the student did have to refresh. But once they refreshed, they did see that edit in real time, which was kind of nice. And also, Kami, I don't know if I explicitly said it, when you're making it, it gives you the option to make a copy for each student, or also the student can view only, which we don't use as often, but also you could do that collaborative piece where your students are editing on one Kami document. So you can do that as well. The most frequently used option will be that make a copy for each student. Very good. Any other questions? These are great. All right, so here I finally got in as a student, just to show you what that turn in button looks like in case you didn't see it. So we can see right here, my ILE student means to open with Kami. It opens that other tab for the student. And students can turn in the work, but they can also unsubmit it. So if you go give a bunch of feedback and you want them to improve their product that they've turned into you, they can unsubmit it and then turn it back in after they've attended to what needs to be fixed. So let's see. Open with Kami and annotate. I do believe so. Yeah. So the question was, is open with Kami and annotate with Kami. So mine was saying annotate with Kami, and I know some say open with Kami. It should be the same exact features. One might be more updated than the other, actually. Okay, and will Kami be available next school year? So right now, Kami is a premium service that is something you would normally pay for, but our district got access to the premium version due to the distance learning. It was a product they were offering. So that would probably be a site decision. I cannot speak on behalf of ILE or the budget yet. So if you really like it though, we would love your feedback, especially if you're finding that it's effective for your students. Please let us know. This is our first time really using it. All right, and then if I choose the make a copy for each student, then each student should have full access. Yes, each student currently already has Kami on their device. We pushed it out a few weeks ago when teachers got it. So they're just need to allow access to the drive the first time, and then they're good to go, and they'll have all of the same features that you have. So students can record their voice, they can record their face, they can even do a screencast. Along with all the annotation tools. Oh yeah, no problem. And so the link for creating with Kami, this is slide 30, and I'll also put this link right here in the chat for you. You can also Google Kami, and it's usually the first thing that pops up. in case you forget. So let's see. Erica has a question about after creating an assignment, we attach another document later, a PDF. I think the reuse post feature in Google Classroom, if I'm understanding correctly, is the workaround for that. Because I know in Classroom, once you post something, if you go back in, it takes away that, right? That make a copy for each student. But if you were to go in and use classwork and then just create and reuse post and pull that old one and then add that new thing to it, and then you could delete the old one if you wanted to, would be a way to kind of do a workaround for that. So the reuse post feature, if you don't know what that is, that just pulls up all of your old classrooms that you've ever had, allows you to pick an assignment in there, and then you can reuse the post, and it kind of makes it like it's brand new, which is why that make a copy for each student feature is then suddenly again visible for you. That's a good question too, right? Okay. Anything else? Can we only add videos and you can, so what the question is, can we only add videos and links directly through Kami Creator? And you can use the comment feature even if you're a student. So if your student was pulling in a link from somewhere, a resource, if they're doing research or curating something, you would just use that comment feature and copy and paste the link and embed it in there. Okay. Just YouTube's the only one if you're wanting it to be seen in Kami. YouTube's the only thing that comes into Kami and is viewable in there. Everything else will link you out to another tab. All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. And there was a question. Let's see here. Yes, you guys are welcome. Thank you so much for taking time to be here. I know that some of you have come to all of ILE's PD this week. We absolutely appreciate it. They are all recorded, and then we kind of edit it and get just the meat out there and then post it to our ILE YouTube channel. So if you have a teammate or somebody that you think would really benefit from either the Pear Deck or the Kami, or last week we did Jamboard PDs, you can send them that video. This will probably be ready by Friday or Monday on YouTube as well, so you can share that. Also, if you, I know lots of information is coming towards you teachers regarding distance learning, and if you've seen something and you can't find it, you can look on YouTube at the ILE SDS YouTube channel. We have a distance learning playlist with all the videos created by ILE, as well as some of our teachers and tech mentors have made some videos out there, so it's housed in one place. Also, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram to kind of keep up with things. We really create resources and PDs based on teacher feedback and what the teachers really need. So please, in your feedback form or email, you can email Dr. Kong at skong or me, Crystal Hart at Chart, and let us know, and we will do our best to support you right now. I know we still have a month left of school, so that's a long 4 weeks. So yeah, so thank you again. And yes, Kong put in the link for YouTube. That's a great resource for you. Please feel free to share it with anyone. We also put in, we have teacher-facing videos, but we also have student-facing videos, and they're in English and Spanish. They're on the YouTube channel, but also on the distance learning parent resource page that we made when we first transitioned to distance learning. We're adding to that all the time. So if you're using Flipgrid or Kami or any of those other tools, along with just Google Classroom, Clever, all of those resources that are student facing in English and Spanish can be found on that site and again on the channel. So, all right. You're very welcome. I have to give a shout out to all my Taft friends. I see all kinds of Taft friends here. Very good. Okay. Yep. And we're still here. If you have more questions, please let us know. I know 23 of you are still on. We would be more than happy to answer any of those questions. Thanks, Clay. I know. And that third grade team rocking it, like almost all of you are here, I think. Yay. All right. Fireca. All right, I'm gonna stop recording. Yay, that's Cameron, that's good.